Hello, my friends, and welcome back. Thank you very much for being with me again today. Putin agrees to talk to Zelensky. That's the first one. And the second topic that I have here ready for you is we know when Donald Trump will meet Putin, probably in Saudi Arabia. But before that, I have to let you know that I just uploaded a video regarding the meeting between the Russian delegation and the American delegation in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. The talks concluded. The first meeting, the meeting lasted 4 hours and a half. So go and watch that video with the latest updates on the meeting between the Russians and Americans. Great development. Now let's see how come Putin is ready to talk to Zelensky. What changed? Well, nothing changed. If you're surprised of what I said, nothing changed. He never said he would not talk to Zelensky. He said, I'm talking to Zelensky if he's around, but I don't think he's the legitimate president of Ukraine. Therefore, any signature is going to lay on any document that our delegations, negotiate with the Ukrainian delegation, if that's the case, will be illegitimate. It will have no value. So this is just a preamble to understand where he comes from. Russia Today, 18th of February 2025. Putin ready to talk to Zelensky, the Kremlin says. Moscow has never opposed peace, spokesman Dmitry Peskov has said. Well, it's true, and I always use this statement as Napoleon Bonaparte said once, or maybe more than once. I'm a man of peace. I love peace as long as it's done under my terms. So the same here. We all love peace. So whenever you hear in the media, oh, Hamas doesn't want peace, or Hezbollah doesn't want peace, or North Korea doesn't want peace, it's not that these guys don't want peace. They want it, but they want it under certain terms. And since those terms are not met, those, requests, demands are not met, why should they love peace? It's like someone wants to take your car, takes your car, and then you start fighting to get your car back. And people say, he doesn't like peace. No, under the circumstances, I definitely don't like peace. If you like that kind of circumstance and you want peace after some things were taken from you, that means you're weak. And maybe you deserve to have things taken from you. Nevertheless, let's go. So, Russia remains committed to a peaceful resolution of the Ukraine conflict, and it's ready to hold direct talks between President Vladimir Putin and Ukrainian leader Vladimir Zelensky, despite having doubts. Now they dropped it to doubts about the latter's legitimacy. Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov said doubts is not certainties. Zelensky's presidential term lapsed last year, prompting Russia to question his authority to sign international treaties on behalf of Ukraine. Again, to question his authority is not really. They changed the semantics, the gravity of the words. Nevertheless, Peskov emphasized that Putin is open to dialogue with Zelensky if it serves the goal of achieving peace. So Putin is the nice guy, right? And I'm quoting, Putin has repeatedly expressed his readiness to negotiate with Zelensky, end quote. Peskov told reporters during a press briefing on Tuesday. All right, so that's the first one. Second one, let's go to the Ukrainians. I would like you to pay attention to this title, the headline. Ukrainska Pravda, this is from 18th of February. Kremlin says Putin is ready to hold talks with Zelensky, but there are issues, in quotation marks. Now, the time here is 12:15. Remember, this is the headline. I'm going to show you how I saw that headline this morning. By the way, since I'm so wealthy, I'm not rich, I'm wealthy, I got this bigger iPad, not the CC iPad I used to have. So enjoy, you're welcome. So here is the title, the way I got it earlier today. Kremlin says Putin is ready to hold talks with Zelensky, but there are issues with Zelensky's legitimacy. And the time is the same time, 12:15. So remember that one and this one. All right, I'm going to show you again the same title, but they stopped short about Zelensky's legitimacy. And I found the same thing on, on American media, on, let's say, on Yahoo, they reported everything like these guys right here. But there are issues. Well, you know the issues with legitimacy. Well, it's good. I think Putin should talk with whomever could provide peace. Zelensky could not provide peace. The Americans can provide peace. Zelensky is just going to do what the Americans are telling him to do. So Putin can do this and, show that he's open, he's a nice guy, he's the, open-minded guy. But something more. I think Putin would love to meet Zelensky face to face after this war. You know why? So you lost, I won. That's what's going to be. So when they meet, they're not going to negotiate. Zelensky knows he lost because his buddies lost. And Putin knows he won against not the Ukrainians. The Ukrainians knew from, I think from the get-go, unless you really are gone, from the get-go, they knew they will lose against these guys. If it's one-on-one, I think 2 weeks would have been enough for the Russians to figure things out in Ukraine. The problem is the Ukrainians says, help us, and they were helped because they were owned. So the fact that NATO right now is, what should we do? Short of really bringing troops, we don't want to bring troops. Some idiots want to bring troops in Ukraine to fight the Russians, but I think that's too much even from the baboons in their own countries. So Putin would love this because for him it's going to be, you are the loser here and I'm the winner. The winner here. So what do you want? But the fact is, he's okay with meeting the guy. And I suspect that if the conditions of the peace, the terms of the peace will be, and they will be, beneficial, positive for the Russians, he would sign the peace treaty with whomever. You know why? Because it doesn't really matter who's going to be like the name in Ukraine. I guarantee you that person, that administration will be controlled by the Russians. 100%. The Russians will not allow again those guys to be hijacked by the Western guys who try to pull a Gaddafi on Putin. I'm guaranteeing that that's not going to happen. It's not going to be. And the peacekeeping troops from Europe, are you crazy? So that means you achieved your goal, which the goal was NATO. The main goal was obviously take care of Russia through Ukraine, but the first step was NATO in Ukraine. That's what the Russians says no. Now if you bring NATO troops in Ukraine as peacekeeping forces, what is that? Instead of calling them peacekeeping forces, we bring French troops, we bring Danish troops, we bring Dutch troops, we bring, there's NATO. So it's like, oh, no, I don't think it's going to happen. I mean, if that's going to happen, it's going to happen to a small portion of Ukraine. And the Poles will take their little thing over there. Now, let me show you when the meeting between the Russian President Vladimir Putin and the American President Donald Trump could take place. And it is as soon as next week. Here is an article from the Russians, from Russia Today, but they quote Bloomberg. The ongoing Russia-US talks could pave the way for a Trump-Putin meeting in Saudi Arabia as soon as next week, Bloomberg has reported, without providing further details. Here it is. This is Russia and US hold talks in Saudi Arabia, and that is the statement at 11:56 GMT. That's great news, don't you think? I think it's great news. I think Putin should talk with this guy, but he's going to talk as a conqueror, as a victor, and the other one knows that. So yeah, come over, Red Rover. Now, come on, sit down, all right? Now you sign those documents. What documents? That your bosses, your masters agreed with us. Yeah, and you were not in the room. They will be in the room. The Ukrainians will be in the room. Probably the Europeans will be in the room. But you know who's going to dictate over there. And is going to dictate the person or the country who has the upper hand militarily in the territory. And I'm going to end up with this a little story, real story. When Harry Truman, the, I would say, war criminal, why he dropped 2 atomic bombs on 2 civilian cities in Japan, remember, 6th and 9th of August 1945, when he dropped those atomic bombs. So he met In Potsdam, Stalin, Mr. Djugashvili, that's his real name. Stalin means man of steel. So they all had pseudonyms, nicknames, name de guerre. All right, so when they met, and I'm going to mention always this, Truman said, you know what, Stalin, the Pope, the Catholic Pope, he is really concerned with the Polish population that's we give it to you. Because you remember, the free countries gave half of Europe to Stalin, but they got into the war not to give it to Hitler. They got it from one criminal, gave it to another criminal. And this is how things work. That's why these guys are they don't care. They don't care. So we said, we don't have a problem. The Pope is concerned, said Harry Truman towards Stalin. And Stalin was like, about the Catholic population, Polish Catholic population in Poland. It would be under Stalin's rule to a certain extent, right? And Stalin said, tell me how many divisions the Pope has in Poland? And Truman, that means he has no say here. See this? Right there. So the Pope had no divisions, military divisions, army divisions in Poland. Therefore, he said, how many he has divisions? Nothing. What are you talking about? So same, when the Russians meet the Americans or the whomever, they will say, how many divisions you have in Ukraine? As of now, we're winning. Do you want to go full force? We got nuclear weapons. Thank you very much for being with me again today. Stay strong, stay smart, look for the truth, and be just.